All right, we're here with Blues and Beyond with Jim Carty, and we have Vinnie Amico, which means friend in Italian. From
Right. What's up?
Mi Amico. How you doing, Vinnie?
Good, man.
And it's just so unusual to have an Italian guy from upstate New York, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I just did Syracuse Jazz Fest on Wednesday night
Nice.
with a little band, and like I'm from Utica originally anyway, but like
Yep.
there's so many Italians. It's like all the
Yep.
band guys, everybody's Italian, and they're all they my dad was a jazz musician from Utica, so like everybody there knew my dad. He's been gone a long time, but everybody knew him. And it was like the last ties to the people that knew my father, everybody was there. It was wild.
That's cool. I lived in Beeville for a while, Baldwinsville,
Oh,
with two
nice.
brothers in Syracuse.
So you're probably aware of the Syracuse Jazz. I mean, or that the you know the history of jazz in Syracuse and what a how important it was to that.
I was actually in high school at the time, so I'm not aware of the jazz history in Syracuse. If you want to talk about that for a second, I'd love to hear.
Um, I mean, it's more like all of upstate New York, but
Yeah,
like my father and J.R. Montrose were pretty uh JR more than my dad was pretty famous jazz musician. But they're both legends, and then Rochester had Sal Nistico and Chuck
right.
Mangione, Gat Mangione, and Steve Gadd, and you know,
Now that I knew. Yes.
and all the guys that kind of were around them with Tony Levin and
Yeah.
people like that. And so, and then Buffalo had Sammy Noto and Lou Marino and Jerry Nywood, and like there's such a deep history of hard bop and bebop that went from Buffalo to New York City, and they were all like, as far as jazz went back in the 50s and 60s, are all famous guys, basically,
hmm
you
That
know,
that's so cool.
and even the big dudes that would come through, they wouldn't always carry a band. So,
Right.
and knowing
That-
that they had, some of the jazz legends of the time all within 100 miles, you know, they were able to play city to city without a band. And, so all these guys, they had great bands because these guys were all there.
So who had Dad backed up when traveling through? Any people that he told you he had backed up in the day?
I I'm pretty sure he played with most of the bigs. I mean, he was trumpet, so he didn't get to play with Miles, but he'd play with Elvin, or
Yep.
he'd play with Art Blakey, or he knew, you know, let me think of some of the, I can't, I'm blanking on some names because basically, if you ever watch the jazz documentary on PBS,
hmm
my mother just told me like she was watching it and she's like, oh, he was at like so Jimmy Heath or Tootie Heath or
Yep. Yep.
uh, the Heath brothers or you
Love
know,
those guys.
you know.
Tootie actually made fun of my dad. I took my dad to a jazz club here. My dad's not a jazz cat. And
That,
he had his foot on the foot of the stage. And we were, front and center. I said, Dad, that's really disrespectful to the artist. Can you please take your foot down? It's embarrassing to come here all the time. Fuck you.
that's that's
No,
funny.
really, Dad, it's disrespect. So halfway through the set, Tootie stopped the show. Goes, and this guy here doesn't know enough to keep his foot off my stage. He probably doesn't even know who John Coltrane is. And my dad's like, who's Train? Who's Coltrane? Uh, so the next morning at breakfast, he had clearly Googled John Coltrane. He's like, that guy even had his own religion. I said, yeah, they were snake handlers. And
It's hilarious.
so Dad,
That's,
wouldn't listen to me initially. Of course, in their 80s, you can't wrangle your parents. Then you
yeah,
do
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he had to secretly Google all about John Coltrane because Tootie had busted it.
That's funny. Yeah, my wife worked at Skidmore College, and Tootie and Jimmy came and did a jazz master class and concert and all this, and I went up to talk to them after.
Yeah,
And I started talking to Tootie. I mean, I said hi to Jimmy and mentioned my dad. Oh yeah, I knew Sal, whatever. And then I talked to Tootie. I started talking to Tootie. I said, yeah, my dad was Sal Amico. I spent 6 months in upstate New York, sleeping on your dad's couch and
Oh no way.
JR's kind of, I was like, oh man. So like, that was like, oh, okay, So that's the kind of thing. And back then, the unfortunately the black guys couldn't get hotels or anything. So there was a lot of musicians that would be at the house, all the time. So
Yeah.
Jimmy Cobb, like
Mhm.
all those guys all came through. They all played, and
Yep.
it wasn't as big as many artists as there were. It wasn't a huge scene.
Right.
There was only so many of them, and there's only so many jazz clubs, and they all played them all, and they all knew
Mhm.
each other, and especially the good ones, they were great players. So it's like, oh, if you were one of those guys, you were getting calls, and you were, playing music. So
Yeah. Actually, I was explaining that whole scenario to someone. So Joe Beard from Rochester, I don't know if you know, uh,
that sounds familiar to me
he,
too, Joe
he's
Beard.
like the
Yeah.
big blues guy in Rochester, New York
Hmm.
for decades. And
Yeah, I
he's
think I know.
mid 80s, and his son Chris Beard is known as the Prince of the Blues. And
Hmm.
his son kind of got the blues bug because,
Oops, I don't know what happened just
game,
now, but
all
you
right.
still got me, right?
Yep. Yep.
Do you have me?
Yep.
You can
You
still
just
see me, right?
oriented differently. There you go.
I yeah, there. Sorry about
You're
that.
good. So I was explaining to this lady at a cocktail party how, James Cotton or BB King or Buddy Guy or Junior Wells would stay at the Beard House in Rochester because there was nowhere else for them to really stay. And they
Right.
would to stay with their friend that grew up with them in Mississippi,
Sure.
possibly.
Yep.
And I just helped produce a record, a two CD set actually, tribute to McIntyre Murphy. And
Oh
Joe
no.
grew up with Matt Murphy in Mississippi, and then he moved to Rochester, and he moved in next to Sun House, if you can believe that. And Sun hadn't been playing for decades, and apparently Dick Waterman had put the call out to some people, find me Sun House. I want to put him on Newport. I want to be his agent.
Right.
And Canned Heat played Rochester and found him. Ended up knocking on his door because they had heard. Whoop, whoop, sorry about that. I hit the wrong
It's
thing.
all good.
The guys from Canned Heat show up and say, "Hey, son, Dick Waterman wants to put you on Newport." He said, "Well, I haven't touched a guitar in about 30 years. I'm going to need a nice national resonator, and I'm going to need someone to teach me my tunes." So the guys from Canned Heat taught him his tunes again, and
That's
I just
amazing.
thought that was a riot.
Yeah. So
But
you know the deep history of music in
yeah,
upstate New York, because it goes beyond just jazz. It's blues, and then and beyond. It's just that it's
yeah,
so steeped in music from where the heyday of upstate New York. Every city was 2 hours from each other. They were all
right,
big cities. They were all really happening, and
right.
music was just a huge thing.
The Rust
So
Belt was not rusty at that time. It was
no,
happening.
sir.
My
No.
sister went to SUNY Utica, and she did a report on the FX Matt Brewing Company. And I
Nice.
got to visit
Still
Matt
exists.
Brewing. Yep.
Go Cranks. We actually have a beer out with them.
Do you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's called um Hoppy Hour Hero. It's a
Oh, very cool.
mosaic IPA. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to find that.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's delicious. Well, it's if you like, heady IPAs, it's pretty good.
It's not overly hoppy, I hope.
Well, they put a honey malt in it, so it sweetens
No?
it on the front end of it. And
Nice.
I used to be a IPA snob, and I can't even drink them anymore. I drink Labatt's now because I can't drink them.
There you go.
It's like,
Take the
so.
Labatt's and drop the puck, eh?
Mhm.
Oh, every weekend I was up in Ontario playing hockey when I was up there.
So Molson and Labatt then for
Oh
sure.
yeah, I used to drink Bredors when I was 14 and 15 on
Oh
road
yeah,
trips.
go over the border.
Yeah.
That's before there was any before there was big, microbrewery 8 point
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
beer. The
Yeah.
Bredors were the strong 6.6.
Yep.
You know. It's
And
funny,
Matt
this interview goes off the rails. We could just use this as the interview. We don't have to talk
totally
about
up.
the
No, these are the fun ones. No,
I
and
know, right?
FX Mats had that malt liquor Maximus that I used to.
Oh yeah, Maximus Super.
Oh, that was good stuff.
Yeah. That was a heavy, yeah, that was a pretty heady beer.
Yep.
Maximus Super. That's
Yep.
amazing.
Yep. See, we are old. We are old. But one of my questions was one of the things I love about Mo is you have a percussionist that also plays the vibes, and um, obviously when you think about the vibes, you're thinking about modern jazz quartet. You're thinking about,
Yeah.
things like that.
Milt
Um,
Jackson or
right, exactly.
I get it.
A great version of Flying Home, whatever,
Right.
So
Or Zappa.
yeah, or Zappa. And then you've got a percussionist, and you're thinking Tito Puente, or
Yeah.
Arturo Sandoval, you know, Buena Vista Social Club. So
Yeah.
you're bringing in elements of jazz, and as a drummer, you've got to lock in with that. How is that for you as a drummer to have those elements? You consider yourself like the Allman Brothers later incarnations. I think Greg did say, I see ourselves as a jazz band at this
Yeah.
juncture. How do you guys envision yourselves or the elements you're bringing in?
Well, when we got Jim back in the band because he was a drummer at one point,
Yeah,
we just wanted to fatten the sound.
yeah.
So, it was a multi-instrumentalist sort of situation.
Hmm.
And years he kept adding to the sound. So, I mean, it was always, about, filling in and the thing is for me, obviously, as I just told you, my jazz history through my father,
Yeah,
and I've always, my ear and my feel is all kind of a little more swingy and a little more based in that kind of music anyway. And
right.
then spent years in Buffalo playing with a world beat band that had 4 percussionists in it.
Yeah,
One from Senegal, Africa, a master drummer, guy from Puerto Rico, somebody from somewhere in South America. So like I I prefer playing music with a percussion player just because then we can bounce the rhythms back and forth off each other, and in the groove to me just feels bigger and tighter, and
oh, it's great. The polyrhythmic thing is a
yeah,
signature of the band, and it's
yeah.
beautiful. It's fantastic.
So, and we've been able to, I mean, I've known Jim for longer than I knew the rest of the guys in Mo, or even since Mo was a band, because his neighbor and I were roommates in college, and Jim came up to visit to look at the school, stayed with us, and we've been playing. He's a bass player too, so we had you know jammed a bunch of times while him on bass and me on drums, before either of us ever knew Mo as a band.
Right,
So
right.
we just have an ability to play well together. We play well with friends.
That's it. You're a jam band. If you can't have people sit in and grow your group like you. I mean, you just added Nate Wilson on keys not too long ago. How's
Yep.
how's how's he contributing to the band? What do you think he brings to the table?
Well, another sound, number
Yeah,
one. A much more trained ear than the rest of us. He graduated from New England Conservatory for jazz performance, I think. So he's like a real musician, where the
yeah. He's
rest
a
of
real
us are kind of
musician.
hacks.
Like a Garth
So
Hudson has just joined the band, is what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. So he's like, he's a real deal dude, and he's got a great ear. He's a monster player.
Mm.
He's a great songwriter and got great like song sensibilities.
Hmm.
And he's also he's a rock and roll guy as well as a jazz guy. So
Yeah.
his influence is really broad. So bringing all those things to the table just makes us a better band. Like he knows what to play, he knows what not to play, and sometimes he plays something somebody doesn't like, they give him a look, he switches the sound. It's like, but he's great. So I think what he does brings to the table, I mean, plus he sings and he's got a good voice, and so he just brings, he
Bring a
brings
lot of tools.
a
A
lot. Yeah, he
lot.
brings a lot to the band. Yep.
That's cool.
So,
Um, one of the other things I wanted to ask is, we were goofing around that, we know all these older things like, Maximus beer or whatever. Um, you know, you guys aren't kids anymore. You started out, yeah, as a college band,
yep.
and now, you're squarely
Mid 50s.
mid 50s, and you know, as far as your musicianship, your energy on stage, the whole confluence of what you guys are bringing each night. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't think our energy has waned.
Yeah, no,
I think we're all better players. We're
yeah,
better players together. and we play smarter. So
Yep.
all of those things are all, a tribute to us, in my opinion, being a better band.
Oh,
And,
I think
being
most musicians,
consistently night to night,
yeah, I mean, I think most musicians are at a sweet spot in their 50s,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you hear, we see it because, whoever you like, Fish fans or Mo fans, or whoever, it's like, oh, when they were young, they had this, and now they just, and it's like, well, you learn a lot, and and to want to play, the way you want to play, and most times it's better, even though not everybody thinks so, but it usually is. Songs get better,
Yeah.
the playing gets smarter, your ears develop, plus your communication with each other over the years gets better. So, you can answer each other's sentences on stage all day long.
Yep. So are you touring behind a specific record or a material on this tour?
Not at the moment. We released an album like in 2020.
Right.
We just went to the studio and almost completed an album. We're pretty close to having a new album with some songs we've been playing and some new stuff that'll probably come out in January. I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to be saying this. It doesn't matter, but I mean, we got new material, we got new
Great.
album that's going to be coming out, which sounds freaking killer. So
That's great. Great.
yeah. So
And I mean, did the band agree that until Chuck was in good shape that you guys didn't really want to go in the studio, or is that just
yeah, oh yeah, we had no intention on going in the studio without Chuck. There's no
yeah,
doubt.
good, good. And how's he doing?
Great. I mean, his playing is fucking killer. So
Good.
he his speech is a little slow. I mean, he had a bad stroke, so
Yeah.
I don't think his speech will ever come back completely.
Yeah.
His guitar playing pretty much has, and he sounds amazing. And we continue to bring in his songs, the ones that he sings lead vocal on.
Hmm.
We're constantly bringing new ones back. It's a pretty slow process, but it's like he has to feel comfortable, and he has to sing through them 1,000 times to get his, to like relearn all that stuff.
Yeah.
So when he's ready, like we'll propose, like, hey, you want to, bring this one back, and we'll run it and sound check a bunch of times till he says he's ready to go with it, and then we go with it.
That's good.
So,
Well,
but other than that, I mean, his guitar playing is sick. So
right, as it always has been.
yeah,
Um, I'm glad you guys are rallied around your band, brother. That's so important.
absolutely agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, we're like I said earlier on, or maybe I'd done a couple interviews today, so I don't know if I said this. And we're basically married. We've been together so long,
Right.
and in such close quarters. I mean, we've lived pretty much our whole adult lives together. We've raised our families together.
Yeah.
We've basically, we've gone through life, we've gone through death, we've gone through a
Yeah.
lot of stuff together, and so we kind of we know how to process our grown up lives together.
That's good. That's good, though.
Yeah.
You're there for each other for everything, whether you're on the
That's
road or back home. Good.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
no, I have been on the road in my younger years when I was learning the music business. Even as a college kid, I would jump in a band van on a Friday night and help a band schlub their equipment and sell their merch. And they dropped me back off at Boston College on Monday or Tuesday when the weekend in the Northeast was over. And
Oh yeah. So my brother just walked in. My oldest brother. Hold on. What? Give me a couple of famous names that Dad played with in the jazz world that I may have forgotten. It's an on the spot question, so it's all of a sudden you're like you blank out. But go do that and then come back. And if you remember Benny Golson, he used to play with
oh,
Benny Golson. Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he would do some big band stuff, whether he'd fill in with, in the big band or whatever. So he was more of a hard bop, small session guy, but he would do, some bigger stuff too.
That's so cool. Yeah, Ben, is Benny still out there? I think he's still out there.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. My dad passed a long time ago, but
yeah.
And and Sal Nistico, who he recorded records with and stuff, was Woody Herman's #1 for a while. So Sal was a freaking monster. So,
wow, that's
yeah.
So,
not to get off subject, I didn't mean to do that, but he just walked in and I was like, oh wait, he might know some of the people. So
yeah, you never know. You never know. let's see, what else did I want to chat about? So tell me, like you guys are kicking off at the Stone Pony, which is a blast. I remember I went down, I think it might have been 4th of July time, and hung out with Gary U.S. Bonds there. And,
Oh, nice.
oh, he adopted me and my ex-wife for the day, and we had a ball. I mean, that's so fun right on the ocean. That's gonna be nuts. There's gonna be fireworks and fun
Oh, yeah.
and music.
Yeah, I just did a little promo video. I don't know that it probably hasn't aired yet, but it's like I said that I'm like, so we got these great bands, gonna be awesome. Got the boardwalk, got the ocean, got all the killer food, and there's fireworks. It's gonna be freaking amazing.
Oh
So
man, I should take a road trip, man.
yeah, man. And we've done it a few times, and we did it one year. We did it, and there's all the families there and everything, and we
Yep.
wanted to like 4th of July American song, and we did freaking America Fuck Yeah from Team America, that
Yep.
movie. It didn't
Yep.
go over great. I think we got we got a letter from the mayor or somebody saying that was really not in bad
Not
taste because
cool,
there's
not
all the
cool,
families.
man.
Yeah, it was like early on in the set too, so it's like 6:30 or something. It's like America, fuck yeah! It was like, and then there's a lot of profanity in it, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh well.
Family show here.
Yeah, right. Family show, family show. Well, not that one. So
No, sorry, too bad.
yeah.
Well, the other thing that jumped out at me is there's a charitable component to the tour. Do you want to talk about that? Because I think it's really important. You're talking about being a band family and
Mm-hmm.
raising your families together and supporting one another. And I think you're supporting the mental health of musicians, which is huge because it is it's a hard life, man.
Yeah.
Whether you're making a lot of money or not,
Yeah.
it's a hard life, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about this, and um, people think it's all glamour and glitz and glory, and we don't make a ton of money. We just, we're just blue collar dudes, but
Yeah, yeah.
uh, we've been leaving our wives home with our newborn kids, or our 2-year-olds, or our 4-year-olds, or our 6-year-olds, or our 10-year-olds, going on the road for a month and trying to make a bunch of money and trying to play music and trying to do everything, and you're not sleeping in your own bed, and you're not kissing your kids, you know, good night every night, and you're not performing at your best every night. So there's chatter about how you guys suck or whatever. All
Mm.
those things like contribute to, you know, stuff,
Yeah,
like
stuff.
it's not an easy life, and it's not easy to process. So, it's to bring awareness to all that is very important to all of us at this point, especially at this point in our lives with our kids at the ages that they are and what they've gone through, and like, because it's not any easier on them, like, I'm sure all of our kids have some sort of abandonment issues because we forget for
Are you my
6 weeks when they were 5,
daddy?
like, so it goes well beyond just what we're feeling. Our wives have trauma from us leaving and then dealing with our kid putting their freaking nail through their hand and then going to the emergency room or whatever it is.
All of
I
it.
made that up. I don't think any of our kids have put a nail through their hand, but that kind of thing,
Right.
so wives have it, the kids have it, we have it. It's, so it's there and needs to be, talked about and
Absolutely.
made a.
And that can contribute to the addiction issues in the music industry too.
Oh, sure. I'm sure.
Friend, you may know who he is, Woody Geisman, the drummer from the Del Fuegos. I used
I
to,
don't know him personally, but
yeah, but he opened a rehab in Boston after he got off the road with the Del Fuegos,
mhm.
and you know, he dealt he deals with mental health issues and
Yep.
addiction issues. And initially it was for musicians, but now it's for everybody.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so when I was on air in Boston, he would come on and promote his benefit shows and the rehab all the time. So I became very aware of that about 20 years ago when Woody and I became friends.
Right.
So
That's
kudos to
awesome.
Bo for doing this. Um, the organization is Backline and Sweet
Yep.
Relief Music Mental Health Fund.
Yeah. Backline, they're doing great work. And there's, like us Gen Xers, like we always just kind of blew off mental health. We just were like, ah. Plus we smoked a lot of weed and that kind of helped. So, but now with the younger guys out there, and I know, there's certain people that are really comfortable about talking about that stuff.
Yeah.
And with Backline and development of Backline and the resources that they have to, whether you are on the road and having a breakdown or whether you just need to call and say, hey man, whatever, they're providing like some really great resources, and it's just a great organization to have our backs and have on our side.
Yeah, good. Is there anything else you want your fans to know about the tour, or about what you guys are up to?
We just want people to come out and see some good music and have a good time. The one thing, we're running into issues where people don't buy tickets in advance anymore, and the promoters start to get a little freaked out. So,
That has
people
been
can go
happening.
buy tickets for the shows so we don't have to cancel them. And then they go, what the fuck? We're going to go. It's like, well, buy your tickets,
Well,
So,
I mean, you have some great folks on the tour too. It's a nice package with Daniel Donato.
right. Right.
Who's
I mean, it's going to be it's going to be 3.5, 4 hour show with like a lot of good music and all,
yeah.
it's going to be a really great time. So hopefully, people will come out, and, we're doing a lot of cool outdoor venues. So I know the weather can be a thing, but, buy tickets, come out, have a good time.
I think we're in a good weather system right now, and I guess I neglected our local show here is in Westport, Connecticut. I'm in Connecticut, so
Yeah.
that's
I
July
mean,
5th.
the
Westport, and it's a
Levitt's
gorgeous
a
venue,
great venue. Love that venue.
unbelievable venue.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
played there a couple times now, and it's just it's a really great place. So,
yeah.
so
Well, I appreciate the time. Maybe
absolutely.
maybe I'll bug your PR guy to get a pass to come back and say hi to you, Vinny.
I hope so.
Upstate New York guy to another.
Absolutely, man. We're all upstaters except for
That's
Jim,
it.
so and Nate. But so definitely
We can't all
we
be.
all have a lot in common being upstaters.
That's it.
So,
That's it. All right, brother. Thanks
all
so
right, man.
much.
Talking to you, Jim.
Stay
Yep.
safe on the road. Bye.